Roman Reigns defeating Sami Zayn 32 minutes and 19 seconds of what I thought was a pretty good match. It had a little too much of the Roman Reigns stop midway through the match and tell everybody what the story is thing, which people call storytelling. I think I'd rather guys just tell a story in the ring, which I think you guys had been doing for, 80 years and could probably just continue to just do that as opposed to stopping and going, we could have been a family, Sammy. I did this for us. I did this so we could be a family. Like, I don't need that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw the promo package. I understood you just wrestle. Just wrestle the match, man. I don't need you to stop and scream what the story is. Just wrestle. So you take
the art, Rich, the art of pro wrestling used to be telling the story physically.
Right. I know. I'm watching a lot of these Bret Hart matches for the Canadian Heart Month that we're doing here at flagshippatreon.com. Great stuff, by the way. $5 tier, $10 tier. You can listen to those. And it's Bret Hart telling very, very good stories, but he's doing them in the ring physically by wrestling and the way he wrestles. And in matches where he'll turn heel halfway through the match, or he'll turn heel at the end of the match, or he's being a little bit of dickish to a guy or whatever, or he's being, the underdog. Like, you're watching all this happen as the match is going on, whereas Roman Reigns stops and says, "Oh, you turn on me? Oh, well, now this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get because you turned on me." And it's like, oh my God, I get it. We heard you. Like, what? This isn't storytelling. It's not storytelling if you stop and say, "This is the story." That's not storytelling.
Can I get us in trouble?
Great, please. Wouldn't be the first time.
I mean, it's storytelling for stupid people. I mean, that's what it is. It's storytelling for the dumbest among us who need it hammered over their head. What the fuck is happening?
Right. You just got a 20-minute promo package before the match, so you should probably know what the story is. But no, then Roman goes in there and says, "Oh, I trusted you. I made you part of this family. I made you part of the bloodline." It's like, all right, we know. It's just, and people like this. Look, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not for us. It actively hurts the matches for me when they do it. They do it in NXT all the time. I can't fucking stand NXT.
It was never about us.
Yeah, I mean,
you were never my friend.
It's
trash.
And then it contributes to the culture war that we're currently in.
Yeah,
with AEW and WWE, where it contributes to this storytelling culture war where one company allegedly tells stories and the other company allegedly does not, because I guess we don't stop in the middle of the match and break into a community theater routine. But that aside, and of course the cowardly finish aside, I did think that, look, the great reaction Sami Zayn got, and they milked it for all it was worth, as they should have. And then I thought they worked the correct pace for the match and the story they were telling.
I 100% agree. Yeah, you take out, there was 5 minutes of Roman community theater stuff. You take that out, I thought this was a great match. Put that in,
and the shitty finish. I thought the finish sucked too.
The finish absolutely sucks. We'll get to that in a minute. But you I feel weird taking out. I take this 5 minutes out and this 5 minutes out, but that is really good. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like, if you take those, there's 5 minutes on the middle and in the end that I would kind of lap off there. That otherwise I thought it was, like you said, really, 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 really good. But I have to qualify that by saying that because of the community theater thing, that took it down a little bit for me. And then the finish, which of course we're going to talk about here, really took it down for me. Where when it was done, I felt nothing. And I was just like, all right, I moved on. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't care whatsoever. And it was like, this had the chance to be a very special, this had a chance, Joe, dare I say, to be a moment. And this is a moment creation company. They don't wrestle matches. They create moments, right?
Yeah. And they didn't want to create one.
They didn't create a fucking moment.
Well, this is what we're talking about. This is why you gotta, as they say on the streets, Rich, miss me with this greatest story ever told in wrestling stuff. Right. If you don't stick the landing, and they did not stick the landing with Sami Zayn, and I'm sorry, but that's a big problem in terms of if you're going to call this one of the greatest wrestling stories ever told, or the greatest, as a lot of people are saying. They blew the finish here and they didn't stick the landing, and you're going to get tag team titles as a consolation prize, and people will probably enjoy that, but they really had a chance. I mean, if Sami Zayn pins this guy, the roof blows the fuck off of this building, and you have one of the great moments in the history of wrestling. You do. This would have been one of the great moments. It was one of the greatest crowds in wrestling history. One of the greatest crowds in WWE history, no doubt.
Very similar to, Money in the Bank with Chicago, which, I was there live, obviously, and remembered, and hell, that's why this fucking site exists and this podcast exists. So it inspired me to do this shit that we're still doing 12 years later. You know what I mean? Like, so they had a chance to do that because this was a raucous crowd and they were nuts for everything. I haven't felt this way watching a WWE match in a long, long, long time. Thinking, okay, you know what? For all the shit that I give this is working, man. They nailed it. They got it. We're here. They got the perfect crowd, the perfect guy, the perfect match, the perfect foil. They got it all, and they fucked it up because they're cowards.
They did fuck it up, and there's really, and the counter to that will be, well, Cody is also hot, and you have Cody and Roman set up for WrestleMania, which is also a good story and a hot thing, and because Cody's hot, and I agree, but Sami winning here wouldn't necessarily preclude you from going through with Roman and Cody because he could have lost the title back to Roman this Friday. He could have lost the title back to Roman 2 Fridays from now. He could have lost the title back to Roman 2 days later on Monday. I mean, you could have given everyone what they wanted here, which was the big Sami Zayn win, and quite frankly, he's earned it. He's the hottest star in the company. And you could have still had your cake and eaten it too, because then you could have done the same finish that you did in this match on fucking SmackDown in a rematch and put the title back on Roman and popped a rating in the process. And then you take the title off him, because I kind of agree with the idea that this version of Sami Zayn is not a long-term world title holder. That's not what he is. You know what he is? He's Kofi Kingston, but even more over. This is Kofi Mania, but with a guy who's a legitimate business mover. Whereas Kofi was super over in the buildings, and they did the right thing with Kofi, and they did give him the win over Daniel Bryan. The mistake they made with Kofi is letting him hold the title too long. You could have done the Kofi story, but done it right, and done it with someone who was more over than Kofi. You could have Sami win here, create this monumental moment in wrestling history, right? And then, because really that's the essence of this, it was all in the chase for Sami. Once he's champion, he's bound to lose steam.
Of course.
So you can beat him in 2 weeks and then go right back to Roman Cody. And in the interim, in those 2 weeks, you could have Cody saying, because remember, Cody endorsed Sami and said, go win the title. So then you could have had Cody say, all right, it's going to be you and me, Sami. But then Sami loses to Roman, and then you still have Roman and Cody.
You got to stick that landing. You got to make that moment. And when you have that moment, and it's a guy who's a tangible ratings draw, and it's a guy who's you just got to do it. You just can't. You can't care about the number of days on a guy's title reign, because now what you have done now is you've set yourself up to, now you can justify this dude fucking never losing. You know what I mean? Because now it's like, well, is this the right time to do it? Like, are they gonna get to the Cody thing and go, are we really sure this is what we're gonna do with Roman? Are we really sure? And I think it also comes from a place too of, they don't know what to do with Roman when he's done with this thing. They don't know how to book Roman after this. They don't know what to do with this title afterwards, because at some point he's not going to be the champion. And then what? Because they've been able to kind of coast on the story of, here's the champion. He's been the champion for insert, 3-digit amounts of days or whatever. They've been able to do that for a couple of years now. And he comes out and he puts his finger in the air and they go, oh, the most dominant champion. At some point, that's not going to be the story anymore. And I don't know that they have a good story to tell afterwards. So
the thing about the days and Michael Cole tries to push how historical it is every time he's doing his ring entrance and all that. But the thing about that is how is it historical? It's not the longest. It's not even. It's like not even close to the longest.
No, he's got to go a lot of ways. He's got to go a long way to get to Bruno.
He's not catching either Bruno. He didn't catch the first Bruno. He's never catching Bruno's 2,800 day reign, and he's never catching Bruno's combined over 4,000 day reign. Okay, he's at this point. He hasn't even caught Pedro, who's at over 1,000 days, and he hasn't caught Backlund, who was at 1,400 days, and he hasn't caught Hogan, who was over 1,400 days. So even if he had lost, it wasn't really, there was nothing historical about this reign. What's historical about the 6th longest title reign in WWE? Like, they're overplaying that as well. Like, there is no history being lost by doing the right thing and putting the title on Sami Zayn for a couple of weeks and then winning it back. You're not even blowing anything. It's not like he's knocking on Bruno's door. We're not even there yet.
Well, and the other thing too, and I saw a lot of people in our Discord talk about this, and it's perfect. Is this company manipulates language and manipulates facts and manipulates data all the time. It's not that hard for Michael Cole to say Roman Reigns has been a champion for a combined 1,200 days over the last 4 years or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to just qualify it that way. Yeah, maybe his 900-day reign gets interrupted here for a week or two, and then he picks it back up and he holds it for another 3 months or so after that, if you really wanted to, or whatever. Like, you can still qualify it that way. You can still say, well, he's been champion for 1,000 combined days over his last 2 reigns or whatever. They could do that. They manipulate language all the fucking time, constantly. So this idea that it's like, well, then what? No, but then he's not the champion for X amount of days. Who fucking cares? Jesus Christ. What are we doing here?
And I don't even think it hurts the Cody match at all.
No.
They had done a quickie title switch here. Look, and like you had alluded to, and I don't know who needs to hear this. Probably a lot of people. Maybe not a lot of people that listen to this show because they follow the ratings a little closer than, your random fan. But Sami and Cody are the hot ones here. When you look at the SmackDown and Raw quarter-hour ratings, it's always a Sami segment. It's always a Cody segment. And it's never a Roman segment. It's Cody with Paul Heyman. It's Sami with Cody. It's Sami with Paul Heyman. It's like Roman segments are in line with the rest of the show. The hot acts right now are Sami number 1, Cody number 2. They're both hot. Sami's red hot. And the thing about it is, you don't know if Sami will ever be this hot again. And even if he is, he was red hot and the hottest star in the company. Hotter than Roman. No matter what Michael Cole tells you, the reality is Sami Zayn was hotter than Roman and probably still is. Okay? Time will tell if the loss has cooled him off to some degree. Not only did you have the hottest star in the company, but it was perfectly intersecting with the match being in Montreal. How do you not pull the trigger? It's mind-blowing that you don't pull the trigger, and you would have done that. Raw did a good number, would have done an even bigger number had Sami gone into that Raw with the title.
They don't think Sami's a guy, and they didn't they're not that super happy that he got to the point where he got to. They didn't really plan for him to get where he got to. They weren't really ready for him to get where he got to. So what they did is they didn't have him win. And they want you to forget how good he got and forget that this happened and push it off to the side. I know that good is Paul and bad is Vince, but like, this is kind of not good booking. This is bad. This is bad, dumb booking where this isn't the guy that we wanted. And this isn't a guy that looks like the guy that we want to champion. So he's not the fucking champion. Yes, I think it's partly Roman Reigns and they don't want to ruin the reign and yada, yada, yada. Just think Sami wasn't their guy. They didn't want Sami to get over. He got over. And this is the way that they figured out how to get out of it with hopefully you not being that mad about it.
Well, everyone's giving Paul Levesque credit for this. This story has predominantly taken place under Vince. It started under Vince. And
yeah. Oh, I know.
And then the Sami thing was a fucking accident. The Sami thing was a 3-week storyline and Sami got hot and they couldn't move away from it. And so there's no stroke of genius there either. If you want to give Levesque credit for sticking with Sami when it was obvious it was hot, okay. But that wasn't the intent. And then they didn't have the balls to follow through with it. They did not stick the landing. And all to protect this alleged historical title reign, which they have convinced some people. I'm not going to say, and that's a wrestling promoter's job to convince you of things. I understand that. As we've demonstrated, it's not historical from a number standpoint. It's not historical from a match quality standpoint. It's not historical from big moments standpoint. It's not historical from a kayfabe standpoint because he's a cowardly heel who cheats to retain it. He's not truly a dominant champion. He's a guy who tells you he's a dominant champion because that's the heat. Because he's not a dominant champion. He's a cheater. So, and they're protecting this thing that isn't a story. That seems to be more important to them. And, maybe Cody will be the one to beat him, but Cody could have been the one Cody could have won the title anyway. And you could have served all masters here.
Well, what's weird too is like the retconning. I've seen some people saying, "Well, the story is Cody beating Roman." No, it's not. What are you talking about? Cody
became the story in the last month,
right? Because Cody's there and he's hot and he won the Royal Rumble. The story is not Cody beating Roman.
The story was The Rock, and they couldn't get him.
Right, exactly. Right. So it's like, I hear that. It's like, oh, no. If Cody's going to get that moment no matter what, you know what I mean? Whether Roman won the title, then lost the title, then wanted to get, like, it does not matter. The Cody moment is that Cody holds the title up in WrestleMania while a bunch of fireworks go off behind him, right? Like, that's the story. That's the moment. That's the thing or whatever. It's not the story. It has never been the story. So this idea, they're like, oh, well, no, truly the story is Cody. Where? How? Why? Because right now they're trying to tell that Cody story, and they're not doing a very good job of it, to be honest. Like,
Cody was Cody was feuding with Darby Allin when this story started.
Right.
How is he the story?
Right.
What are we doing here?
Right. And like
Cody was putting over MJF when this story began.
Right. He was.
Well, the Bloodline story was fucking Sammy. That was the story.
Yes, I know. It was The Rock. Oh, The Rock's not going to come. You know what? It'll be Sammy. No, it's not Sammy either. Okay, we don't know what the story is. Fine.
They didn't get The Rock, but they were gift wrapped Sammy.
Yes.
And they still didn't nail it.
They fucked it up. Yep.
They still blew it. To protect what? This fake idea of a historical reign, which isn't historical in any way. It's amazing how badly they botched this. But
well, and you can tell. I mean, you could tell. The thing with this too is that, say Sammy does win, you now tell the story, and it's a good. You could do a lot of stuff with the story if Sammy wins this thing, and let's say he doesn't have to have a super long reign or whatever that's going to be. But like, now you fracture the bloodline. You have Uso, who's with Sammy and Kevin Owens, and they're on one side against Roman and Sikoa and the other Uso. So you have like trios matches that you can set up and stuff. Paul Heyman's in between this thing. Like, there's a lot of ways you could go. But Sammy being the one to finally fracture the bloodline and make Uso decide, you know what, fuck this shit. I don't need this. That guy's my real guy. I ride with this guy. I don't ride with you guys anymore. And Owens coming back to Sammy, that's got some juice to it. What's the juice now?